Good morning to those of you on the West Coast, good afternoon to those of you tuning in from the East, and good day to those of you in another time zone. Welcome to today's webinar titled Optimize Citizen Services by Automating Your Contract Management Process. My name is Ryan Park, and I am the Software Marketing Associate for the Government Vertical Marketing team here at Laserfiche. I am joined by my colleague Brandon Bukowicz, Product Manager at Laserfiche, who will be presenting a live demonstration of the contract management process as well. Before we begin, I wanted to cover some housekeeping items with you on WebEx that may improve your experience. First, I have taken the liberty of muting everybody on the line to minimize any background noise. Second, if the screen is too small, you can select the diagonal icon above the screen to expand the slideshow itself. At the same time, you can utilize the Q&A chat box located in the lower right-hand corner of the screen to ask us questions or let us know if there are any technical issues with the platform. Please note, we will read and respond to your questions during the Q&A section, which will take place at the end of this webinar. All right, let's dive right into the presentation. The purpose of this webinar is not only to expose you to the benefits of utilizing a content management system, but also to show you how ECM can optimize citizen services without the headache of wasting time, resources, and energy. In this presentation, I'll be covering the following items: what enterprise content management means in terms of how it can be utilized in any government organization, why ECM is important in terms of how it can be applied in your day-to-day tasks. Then, Brandon will provide a live demonstration of the contract management process, which will give you a better understanding of what an automated process looks like through an ECM lens. And finally, we will provide a recap of the webinar and respond to some questions as well. All right, right off the bat, what comes to mind when you see the following image? Some words may include messy, scattered, potentially unorganized, insecure, susceptible to damage, or some would even say, are you ready for it? Gone with the wind. Ultimately, government organizations know all too well how taxing it can be to find paper documents stored in boxes or filing cabinets, especially if the documents you are searching for dates back to the organization's inception. Today, we are seeing an increased level of public demand and a host of expectations than, say, the past 10 to 20 years. We are in an age where materials are delivered in real time and public services are being inundated with requests, making it that much more difficult to communicate and share information with citizens in more immediate ways. So think about every time you needed to process a contract. Notice that the individual submitting the initial request made an error and needed to return it back to the individual, knowing that the deadline was right around the corner. What about those times where you had to physically go through a hefty list of contracts that needed to be hand-delivered and signed by multiple people before it went to the final decision makers as well? Or what about wasting time sitting in meetings trying to process the contract in question, working off of multiple versions, resulting in a long and arduous process with potentially delayed responses? Whether you have personally experienced these time-consuming tasks or can relate to extensive processes, I'm sure you can understand what a major headache it can be to face stressful delays when you want to get from point A to point B. As a former government employee myself, there have been moments where I thought to myself, can this process be made easier, or are there better ways to process this particular request? Although it's easier said than done, government organizations can do business better by increasing the way they capture, access, and manage the flow of content. Reducing bottlenecks has been a key issue in any organization and is a reason why ECM can be utilized to achieve success and accomplish larger goals. To begin with, let's answer the question, what is ECM? ECM stands for Enterprise Content Management and is a one-stop shop for optimizing your document management needs. According to the Association for Information and Image Management, or AIM for short, ECM is a systemic collection and organization of information that can be customized solution for end user. It is a dynamic combination of strategies, methods, and tools used to capture, manage, store, preserve, and deliver information supporting key organizational processes through its entire lifecycle. In short, ECM can be used to advance organizational goals and refers to a category of software that can store documents, manage information, and automate workflow processes. If you didn't completely understand each point, don't worry. I'll be breaking down some of the most useful tools you can find in an ECM system. Whether an organization has 100 or 1 million documents to scan, planning out processes ahead of time is essential. Managing an organization's content begins with capture, the process of importing information into a repository. A few methods of capturing documents include using electronic forms to make documents digital from the point of creation, scanning paper documents which can be filed in a digital repository by most ECM systems, and capturing electronic and image files including PDFs and images. Now, think invoices, contracts, job applications, agendas, and other forms of documents. Information from these documents can be captured with data that can then be searched and retrieved through an easily identifiable text to give you the information you need when you need it. Now, how many of you tried manually searching for documents that didn't produce the right results or wound up with way too many documents to sift through? I'll guess by saying that a majority of us have experienced something of this nature. Instead of heading to a filing cabinet to look up documents like vendor contracts, building permits, employee files, and public meeting agendas, ECM enables users to access and work with documents depending upon how the organization chooses to capture information. It can also allow for records electronically to provide a central automated system for archiving content and make it accessible to the end user as well. In terms of ideal methodologies, electronic forms or e-forms can then be used to capture additional information. When it comes to building forms, you don't need to be an IT expert to create a sleek and intuitive interface. According to Gartner, 85% of business processes are inherited by a form. Yet, research shows that up to 40% of submitted forms contain missing information that need to be manually corrected. Access to e-forms means that constituents can process an application without wasting any paper and ensures that it goes to the authorized employees without the fear of getting overlooked or worse, lost. Utilizing e-forms not only accelerates the organization's processes, but it also makes it easy for end users to approve forms, ensure no stone is left unturned, and increases transparency by creating action histories that show the current status of the document within a process. Also, e-forms extends the capabilities of ECM outside of the document. It is web-based, which allows for customizable fields, the use of digital signatures, and the collection of data to create room for organizations to collaborate interdepartmentally. Now, let's briefly look at an example. Before utilizing e-forms, Davie County's contract approval process was paper-driven and highly inefficient. In the past, a department representative would fill out a submittal document in Microsoft Word, print it, and attach it to a paper copy of the contract. This contract was then hand-delivered to various departments for signatures. If changes were necessary, paper copies were returned to the submitter for corrections and then returned to the reviewing department for approval. By utilizing an automated solution, government professionals are now able to submit the contract electronic form, which gets easily routed to the legal, IT, and finance departments for review before it hits the county manager's inbox for the final checkup. With that being said, the clerk would then be able to get the necessary approval from the board, who then reviews the actual contract itself. And at any time during this process, if a department doesn't review the contract within 3 business days, an email reminder is sent to the county manager which has helped to streamline contract approval processes by making it easily trackable and holding participants accountable for their role by eliminating delays. Now, by identifying bottlenecks, this also helps to increase efficiencies and creates the form of effectiveness to reduce printing and storage costs as well. And overall, the contract approval process has allowed the organization to make decisions more efficiently and effectively. When it comes to web-based solutions, government professionals do not need to stay restricted behind their desks to approve processes as well. With mobile ECM, productivity can take place inside and outside the office building. Employees can review, revise, and work on documents, collaborate with others, and participate in business processes no matter where they are. For example, the city clerk's office can save time and paper by allowing city council members to view the council meeting agendas directly on their iPads or mobile devices, allowing authorized users to make annotations like sticky notes, highlighters, redactions, and stamps to undergo an easy and painless process. This mobility also allows for the review process to be made a lot quicker for those reviewing contracts as well. With an ECM system, multiple stakeholders can review and edit contracts. Files can be accessed from a desktop or mobile device for flexible collaboration in that way. Now, using this type of solution can be an asset to your organization in more ways than you think. Workflow is a flexible, easy-to-use tool for automating and optimizing business processes organization-wide. It also enables you to map, model, and manage business processes to efficiently achieve your goals. End users can create workflows with an intuitive top-down business process map and a toolbox of built-in activities. This ultimately allows end users to build a business process automation solution for their organizational needs with an easy-to-use workflow designer to help save hours of staff time and to create simple tasks like renaming documents and emailing document changes. And so this can certainly be helpful for those of you looking to automate contract management or other processes like public records requests as well. The workflow component of an ECM solution can also automatically route files into appropriate folders in the central repository, and by that notion, notify appropriate staff when a step requires their attention. So for example here, an organization can automate the contract management process with forms and digital workflow solutions. By doing so, contracts can be routed into the central repository, or the supervisor can be notified to perform a review and work the latest version as well. I remember hearing a story from a government colleague of mine who mentioned that the only security feature applied to one particular organization was the lid on top of its many boxes. In the case of when a hurricane or a fire, flood, theft, or other form of negative externality strikes, a storage location where archived documents are stored, it can spell disaster. Instead of falling down the rabbit hole like this gentleman in the picture, it can be beneficial to digitize and create safeguards for your valuable information. That said, a trusted and proven system allows for customizable security settings that allow organizations to protect against unauthorized access or modification. For example, Laserfiche's ECM system allows central IT to restrict access to folders, fields, and other document properties as needed. Ultimately, you can monitor system login and logout, document creation and destruction, password changes, and protect sensitive information by controlling access down to individual folders, templates, and fields. Essentially, users can customize access, limiting employees to only the functions they need. By customizing who gets control of viewing content, it allows users to configure who can create templates and make changes to different versions of a contract. Now, an ECM system can also automate records management, making it easier to adhere to retention schedules. In addition, records can be automatically archived as non-editable files once they have reached their cutoff date, where they can then be assigned automatically based upon the record type itself. Such electronic records are much faster to find when referencing older contracts, per se. Protecting information doesn't only mean customizing security settings. It also means to verify the integrity of the documents and to authenticate archiving processes as well. What this means is that it can ensure long-term data preservation with a standard format that adheres to certain requirements in the process. In addition to baseline features, DoD 5015.2 and VERS certifications can be another point of evaluation. Laserfiche's document solution is Department of Defense certified, which means that it can be set up to abide by federal regulatory compliance standards. It provides reassurance that a system is secure and robust if it is able to meet the rigorous standards of the Department of Defense. At the same time, VERS stands for the Victorian Electronic Records Strategy. It is endorsed by the State Governor of Victoria, Australia, and is used as an e-governance standard internationally. VERS differs from DoD because it specifies a standard that focuses on data integrity and authentic archiving, while DoD makes sure that documents and records are properly organized and managed. The driving force behind ECM systems is to do business better. Whether you are a city clerk, IT professional, procurement officer, or specialize in another departmental function, there is an influx of information that needs to be managed without the bottlenecks. ECM is important because it can streamline business processes like initiating review, managing contracts, responding to citizen requests, and so much more. This increases efficiency, making it possible to manage the flow of information and provide the ability to rapidly find, retrieve, and share publicly available documents effectively. Now, government organizations can do more with less by optimizing citizen services. By systematically capturing electronic information, automating processes, and integrating systems across organizations can make vital information more accessible to increase transparency and security across all levels. According to the Center for Digital Government survey, more than 200 government respondents wanted a solution that provided cost savings, enhanced security, performed better information capture, and supported consistent collaborative information sharing across organizational boundaries. What they found was that over 80% of respondents said that better document management capabilities were a high priority, and that 70% of respondents were actively reinvesting in their document management technology. Now, to give you a better sense of the type of process that's been laid out for the contract management process itself, I'd like to shift gears and pass the speaking role over to Brandon Buckowicz to briefly talk about the contract management process in terms of looking at certain types of expectations to look at and how it'll turn out as well. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Brandon.
All right, thanks Ryan. Hello everyone, my name is Brandon Buckowicz. I'm a product manager at Laserfiche, and today I'll be sharing the demo portion of today's webinar. And we'll be taking a look at a new contract request and drafting process. This includes elements of both document management and business process management, so you'll be able to see a lot of different type of capability within Laserfiche. On the document management side, we'll be taking a look at how electronic forms can automatically be captured, showing how documents can be automatically versioned when they're brought into our Laserfiche repository as well, and of course how documents can be automatically filed, named, and captured with all the relevant metadata information as well. And in this process, there's no paper involved. Now on the business process management side, this is all about automating the routing of approval and review tasks. So there's no manual emails you need to send out to your teams or carrying out meetings with transferring paper documents over and over again. So again, this is where the appropriate individuals are automatically notified and assigned tasks where they need to take action. So at this point, Ryan will pass over the presentation rights over to me so I can share my screen over here, and we'll get started with the demo.
And at this time, the presentation rights are being transferred over to Brandon so that he can also showcase the process itself.
Okay, so before we get into the contract demo specifically, I did want to share that the solution that we're sharing today is actually a solution template that's available through the Laserfiche Business Process Library. So this is a solution that is available for users to download and work with yourselves. Again, this is part of the library. It's a great resource to take advantage of to quickly get started with automating your business processes. And this is what I have on screen right now. So just to do a quick tour here of the Business Process Library, and what we have here is a broad collection of pre-configured templates that have been built out for a variety of different departments and industries. And of course, we have a number already built out specifically for the government industry, like liquor license application. We have business license application in here, agenda item approval process. We have public records requests in here as well, and so on. A lot of these processes have been we've corresponded directly with our customers to help build these processes out, get inspiration, and validate these processes. A couple of these processes have actually been submitted to us from our customers as well. So what we do here, and let's choose an example, public records request. We provide the process diagram, we provide the workflows already built out, we provide the form already built out as well. So this can really help. We try to provide you with a complete package to help you get started with your automation efforts. And of course, these are all configurable, so you can manage and edit these for your own organization needs. So really, no matter if you're a new user or an experienced user with Laserfiche, this can really be an immediate asset for you, where you can really try to save some time by developing off an existing template, or in general get inspiration for your own specific processes. So at this point, let's go ahead and get started with the contract process and see what it'll look like from the end user perspective. Again, the demo I'll be showing today is actually a process that is available through the Business Process Library. We have it actually under the legal category, new contract request. Again, we provide the workflows, the forms are already included. So I've already imported this into my own environment and set it up. So from here, I'll show what it looks like when you run it. Alright, so this is the initial form, new contract request, that will kick off our process from here. And this is where the internal employee can fill out this form, provide their contract and the contract information that needs to be drafted. From here, it'll be sent through a series of approvals as well. So I'll go ahead and start filling out this form from the perspective of an internal employee. And actually for this first section here, I don't need to type any information in besides the employee ID number. I've already hooked this up to a database, so it makes it very convenient for the end user. And from here, I'll continue to fill out the rest of the form. The contract contact information section, this is where you would put the contact information of the external party. So let's say we're working on a contract with an organization called Data Design. For these other fields, I'll just put some placeholder text right now for the purposes of this demo. And for the contract information, we are doing say we're doing an RFP with this organization. You can put the description here. And let's say we want this contract to be, this contract will be effective July 24th this year, and we'll say the contract will expire a year from now. And let's see, we want the deadline to be July 17th. You can see that the days until deadline is already populated as well. It's already calculated how many days until we have the deadline is hit. And this is useful so we can keep track, so the users that are part of the process know when the deadline is and know how much of priority this particular contract is as well. And then we have a last field here to fill out is the contract based off a template. And what we have here, this is actually we have a hidden field set up where if we select yes, we have a new field that shows up where we can upload a contract template. And in this case, we do have a contract template, so I'll go ahead and upload that as well. And that's all we need to do on this form, and we will go ahead and submit it. All right, so what happens next is this form will be sent to our contract team to review and start drafting up the initial draft. And what you're looking at right now is the tasks inbox page. And for the purposes of this demo, all the tasks will be assigned to one account. But of course, in a production setting, these tasks can be assigned to respective individuals or team members as well. So go ahead and open this task that has been populated in my queue, and this has been assigned to the legal team to review this request. And then at this point, we can go ahead and start drafting a contract up. So we have an upload field here for the contract. And let's say we do have a draft already written up. So we'll go ahead and upload that. And that's all we will do here. In case we wanted to contact the employee that sent this information, we can contact the employee again. We provide comments here in the box as well. But we'll move on with the process here, and I'll go ahead and click Submit. And then we'll have another task that pops into our queue here. So continuing on with the process, we're in the next stage of developing the contract. So this can be assigned to another contract team member to more fully write out the contract from here. And they can see the request information again. And from this point, we'll actually jump into the Laserfiche repository and take a look at some of our document management capabilities. So again, we are looking at this from the contract author perspective. We have a link here to open the contract directly in Laserfiche, so we'll go ahead and open that up. Sign in here. Okay, so there are a number of cool features I can point out here. Again, we are in the Laserfiche repository view. So you can see the document has already been populated within our Laserfiche repository. It's been appropriately named. It's been filed accordingly. It's also already captured metadata information associated with the document. If I wanted to see the action history on all the different types of actions that have already happened within this process, I can see that information here as well. And of course, you can see the duration now, how long the process has been in progress. And this is, of course, since I'm only running it for the purposes here, it only shows a minute or so going through it, but in production setting, it'll show the appropriate time value. And then you can also see what the current step is in this process also. Another thing I can point out here is that while you can see the action history here in this pane, oftentimes it could be important to see everything or certain kind of information that's happened to a document or an entry within your repository. So you might want to run an audit report on that. And you can choose different type of information you want to grab. And since nothing's happened really to this document yet, we don't have any information here, but I did want to point out that you can run audit reports on your documents and entries within your Laserfiche repository. Also, you can see we have a whole bunch of other folders set up here, and within the contracts folder itself, it's organized by alphabetically with all the different contracts we have. This can be restricted by user security levels, so this information won't be openly accessible for everyone. We have the capability where you can assign security and rights to perform certain actions and view certain information as well. Also want to quickly point out, Ryan brought up records management capability. Again, we are DoD certified, so I do have a contracts folder, records folder already set up here. So we have contracts. We can go in here further, and under the Records tab here on the right, your Records Manager can go in and assign certain records capabilities. This can also be set up automatically. You can set up the cutoff instructions, retention schedules as well. Okay, so one other thing to point out here, if I go back to my folder, if I go back to my document here that was saved, if you recall, I actually uploaded 2 documents. The first one was the contract template, and the other one was an initial draft of the contract itself. So if I open this up, you can open this up in Microsoft Word. And I wanted to point out that we do have an integration with Microsoft Office. We have this Laserfiche tab already here, and we can perform certain Laserfiche actions with this document. But I want to also point out that we can compare different versions of these documents as well. So we had again, the initial template and the initial draft. If we wanted to see what the changes were between those 2 documents, I could run a comparison. And Microsoft Word will open up a redlined version to show me where the different changes have taken place, and it makes it easy for me to see the different changes that have been related to this particular document. So I'll go ahead and close this as well, and that will conclude the overview on the Laserfiche repository side, some of the document management capabilities. Now I'll go back into our business process management side and continue on with showing the rest of the process here. So let's say that from the contract side, we've made the changes to our contract and we're ready to submit the process for approval. So I'll go ahead and click Ready for Approval. From here, it'll go on through a series of approval steps. The first one would be sent over to the manager. Manager can go ahead and go back to the repository, should click through the contract, make sure that everything looks good. They can send it back for revision if they wanted, provide the comments in their box. If they realize that this contract needs to be terminated, they can terminate the contract in this step as well. But let's say that everything looks good for the manager and the preliminary review is completed. The next step involved in this process will go through 3 other reviewers. Maybe this could be your finance department or your city clerk that needs to do a review on the contract as well. Again, since this is a contract template, we only have some placeholder names here as well, but this is all things you can change on your side. So we'll go ahead and complete these steps for each of these reviewers. So I'll go through this a little bit quickly because each one of these steps are the same. So I'll go ahead and approve. You'll note that there's also a reject option there. If one of these reviewers rejects, the way that the process is set up is that if there are still active tasks for the other reviewers, the active tasks are canceled. Since one of the reviewers selected rejected, it will actually be routed back to the legal team to make some changes, and it'll go through the review process again. In this case, I'll just continue and approve the contract. So now the internal review has been completed. We are assigning a task to another internal employee to send the contract off to the external party to do their review of the contract as well. And then when the decision from the external party has been received, we can proceed with moving on forward with the process. So let's say the external party also agreed with the contract and they're ready to move forward. So we can say the external review has been completed. And the last review step here would be a review by a committee. And at this step, again, an internal employee can share the contract with the committee and then record the approval decision, and we'll say that the committee approved. And finally, we will be at the step where the contract is ready for signature. So I'll open up this last task here, where we can go ahead and at this step, an employee will be assigned a task to collect the signatures of the respective parties. Then there are a couple ways you can capture the signature information. In this case, I will upload a contract that's already been signed, but we do have integrations in place with Laserfiche where we have partnerships with digital signature vendors like DocuSign and Signex, where you can automatically send the document out for signature and capture the digital signature information as well. So once when the document has been signed, you can go ahead and put in the names of the different party members that were responsible for signing the document here. But this is just how our contract template has been set up, and maybe your case may be a different way on collecting the signatures and completing the process here. So once this form has been completed, I can go ahead and complete the contract process. I'll actually leave this this task open for now, and I'll come back to this momentarily. So that was how it will look from the experience of an end user. I want to show how it looks from the process design view as well. So when you import the process from the business process library, or when you design your own process, this is what the canvas will look like. Again, since this is from the template view, these tasks will already be in place for you to edit, configure, change who the tasks need to be assigned to. If you want to change the approval routing steps, that's of course anything can be changed here. You can see we also have the forms built out here already, and all this is also configurable by your administrator. It's a simple drag and drop to change the form fields here as well as on the process diagram. Okay, so moving on here, having a contract drafted and approved, of course, is an important part of the contract life cycle, but of course there can be a lot more involved past here. There can be contract renewal, terminating contracts, or even just easily being able to search on a contract's status. Of course, these are all capabilities Laserfiche can handle, and these are bundled already with the contract management template that's available through the library as well. So I just wanted to show a quick example of an extension of the process here. So what we've set up is a really convenient way to perform a search on your contracts. We've set it up so you can search by different parameters here, and I'll just run a search on all contracts. From here, this is pulling information from a repository, and we'll spit it out in a nice, clean table view where we can view what the overall status of all our contracts looks like. So we can see the ID of our contract, what the name, what company we were working with, the contract title, the status of it. These are all links to the contract folder itself. We have the effective date, expiration date, and we can also perform any necessary actions here that would kick off another process. So from here, we can kick off a contract renew process or contract terminate process as well. Okay, so the last part of the demonstration I wanted to share with everyone today is that oftentimes it's important to be able to see the status of how well our processes are performing. So we have these really nice dashboards that come out of the box within our Laserfiche Forms module, and this is called the operational dashboard. This gives you a at-a-glance view of how well our current process is performing. So right now, it's not very well populated because, of course, I only have one process in the queue right now that I didn't finish yet. So here you would be able to see how many contracts are currently going through the process. We can see what stage those processes are in. We can see how many tasks are assigned to our users as well. And in this corner right here, we can see how many, again, how many tasks are in progress, and if any are close to being overdue or also overdue. This kind of perspective can help us take any necessary action and making sure that the process can move along or identify any areas where there have been certain bottlenecks. So the operational dashboard, again, gives us the high-level view on how our current contract process is performing. We also have the performance dashboard. This is more populated because this shows how the holistic summary view of our process history. So this shows information on past processes that have been completed. So in this case, we'd see 35 contract processes have been completed over a certain set time frame. It's taken a certain amount of average days to complete. We can see that the contract offering stage has taken the longest. We can also see what stages have taken up the most time as well, and by certain tasks as well. Again, this is a great tool to give you perspective on maybe where the process can be improved further. Maybe you're seeing that a contract is getting stuck at a particular step or stage or individual. It could be an opportunity to investigate how the process can move more efficiently in the future. Okay, so that would pretty much wrap up the demo portion for today's webinar. We covered a lot of different topics today, from the business process management side and the document management side. So if there are any questions on what we went over today, feel free to type the questions in the Q&A box. Of course, we've only touched the surface of what Laserfiche can handle, but just quickly recap, we took a look at the business process library, how it's a great tool to be able to start from to quickly automate your business processes. We showed a demonstration of how a process actually runs, but through the end user perspective. We also took a look at a couple reporting options you have available to administrators as well. So at this point, I'll pass it back over to Ryan, who will close out the rest of our webinar today.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that, Brandon. As the ball gets passed back to me, we're going to go ahead and just go off to our next slide, which is mainly to go into our Q&A section. I wanted to thank each and every one of you for joining us today, and certainly wanted to open up the floor to any questions that some of you may have in regards to the webinar that took place. So I want to give everyone just a minute or two to type in their questions. In the meantime, one of the areas or questions that we get a lot is, what sort of resources are available when it comes to looking at other types of use cases around contract management, whether it be specifically for public agencies or for other entities as well. One area that I'd like to point people to is certainly the Solution Exchange article webpage. It's under the blog section of our corporate website at laserfiche.com, where individuals can filter out different sorts of use cases around contract management there. So in this case, one example would be Davie County, North Carolina, where they're able to automate their contract approval process, and some great stories can be told there. Another great resource is also to attend our Laserfiche Empower annual conference. This is a really great event for individuals to have the ability to network with other individuals within the same profession, talk about the key areas that they might be facing, and at the same time be able to get offered different types of solutions that may be beneficial for their organizational requirements there. Brandon certainly touched upon so many great different points in terms of how different aspects of information can be captured at different levels of the process itself. And at the same time, there have been great ways for individuals to then take the process itself, look at the different types of solutions that are available, and be able to apply them to help mitigate different sorts of bottlenecks or other key areas that can be improved upon for efficiency and effectiveness purposes. And also, we also have our certified training program where individuals can learn about different types of solutions through an online learning course as well. If you certainly would like some more information on that, you can certainly feel free to email me at ryan.park@laserfiche.com. And at the same time, in terms of any questions or slides or recordings of it, you can certainly go ahead and send those questions our way as well. And with that being said, it looks as though this was a great webinar overall because we weren't able to get some additional questions, and so it seems as though we've done our job here. So once again, I wanted to thank each and every one of you for joining us this afternoon, and hope everyone has a great rest of their day and weeks to come. Okay, so we're signing off now. Thank you, everyone.